just got here. I haven't had a chance to look around yet, but I think that's the object directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. It must have struck with terrific force, because the ground is covered with splinters of a tree. It must have struck on its way down. What I can see of the object doesn't look much like a meteor, at least not any of the meteors I've ever seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. Oh my God.
Hi, this is Greg Hildebrandt. I've been a professional artist for 62 years. I've done a lot of artwork in that time, and I'm still just trying to get it right.
Hello!
Greetings and hallucinations.
Yes. I think you should have gone into the entertainment industry.
Well, isn't this kind of like the entertainment industry?
Performing arts. You should have gone into
Performing, you mean? Oh, my live body on,
yes.
on the stage.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done that at one time. I was much more reserved and more self-conscious. As you get older, you don't give a shit. So I could get out there on the stage and just, because you don't
You should
care.
do it now. You should do it.
I think we're doing it right now. I tried to do a little bit of the countdown.
Yeah. We had one person chiming in, listening to the whole thing. Right as soon as I came on, then you went into your monologue.
Yes. Well, it's the theater of the absurd.
It is the
sort of
the absurd.
Right? That's
Yes.
what it is. The whole damn thing is that. So I don't know how we make a distinction about this. I mean, the whole kind of world. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
It's kind of a statement about life in general, right?
I think so.
I mean,
in history, I mean, my God, you look at history, it's like, holy shit, why are we still here? You know, how do we make it through to get to this point? Luck. Flipping a coin. Lady Luck. What the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, certainly we're not going to talk about it today, but to mention that it's the anniversary.
What day it is today?
Yeah.
Well, that's beyond the theater of the absurd.
Yeah.
There's nothing funny about that. This is comedy.
This is comedy.
This is comedy.
And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Let's talk about funny shit.
Funny shit. All right. Hi, folks. How you doing?
Greetings.
Thanks for tuning in again. We're here to talk about Greg's latest pinup painting.
If you call it that.
Right? Which is titled Brain Switch, right?
Something brain swapped or something. It doesn't really matter. Title is, you can call it anything you want. But I think we're calling it that. What?
Brain swap?
Brain transfer.
Brain transfer. Okay.
Right.
So we have it tentatively titled.
Right.
Now settling in on.
Actually, I posed this. I drew the sketch and did a rendering of it years ago. 13 years ago, I think.
13.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten around to painting it till now. It just, it seemed the fun thing to do. It's one of my experimentations in colored light. I like to, and composition.
So, we talked about that a few weeks ago now of, do you ever have anything that you're pulling out? And that's when you brought up that the crucifiers are mob rules. So if this has been sitting around for 13 years, that just goes to show you folks, if you got a good idea, even if you can't get to it right away, don't throw it away.
Yeah, no, I got piles. You do. We all do, right? All of us artists, we sit around, draw and doodle and come up with stuff. It piles up. And some of the best stuff is the stuff you don't end up doing. For one reason or the other. Yeah. Well, it's solely because something else pops up that you got to get to. And I'm not saying this was the best thing I've ever done, but I'm just saying it's fun to do this kind of thing. And, to me, it's these mad science pictures, we call them, are basically a satirical commentary from my side on pulp magazines, men's magazines from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, into the 60s,
Okay.
Those crazy covers that were very
very absurd.
Yes.
Absurd, very absurd.
So when you looked at those things, when you look at those old pulp magazines, is there any part of you that's coming into them as in a serious aspect, in a, hey, this is how things should be, or
Nothing about that at all. The serious aspect is, what's the composition? Where's the positioning of the primary center of interest? How am I telling this story? What do I want in the picture? What's actually going on? It's that stuff. Nothing about, well, I'm painting. This is a serious painting that I believe that this is what I think or feel like. You watch these, you look at this kind of a thing, and people might be troubled by it or bothered by it and say, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Why is he doing that? Well, actors have played roles. Alec Guinness played Adolf Hitler. Does that mean he's a Nazi? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, you're not behind it, believing it in the least. Yeah, it's a excursion, like I say, in color, in composition. That's every painting I do is that.
Now, so have you had anybody make comments like that to you about your
Negative about this stuff? No. I find it interesting that it hasn't happened in this day and age. That people are criticizing and throwing things around, and I find it. I remember I was doing one talk. I think it was at the New York Comic Con or just San Diego Comic Con. I was giving a talk about this kind of my pinup stuff, and a woman in the back said, the first time I heard it, she said, "I really appreciate the humor of your pinup art." And that's the first time that somebody actually verbally said that out loud.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, finally somebody got it. That's what it's all about to me. Most of it is satire.
Yeah.
Most of it is satire. Yeah.
And, it's we've talked about that before with your pinup work, as opposed to a good deal of other pinup art, or the pinup grades or whatever. That there's a full illustration and a full story. It's obviously there's a nude woman sitting between us right now. It is what it is.
Painting of a nude.
Yes.
This is not a pipe. Remember the Magritte painting of a pipe. This is not a pipe. Right.
That's right.
So this is not a woman. This is a painting of a woman.
Yes. Threw me off my train. Oh, but
I'm sorry.
There was very much. It was just a whoopsie shot. Like you were seeing something that perhaps maybe you weren't supposed to be seeing.
Yeah, like peekaboo, the panties falling or something.
Yeah, like geez. I dropped my groceries, and and obviously there's a certain playful nature to all that stuff. That,
most of it was.
You went off and you're, whether it's film noir, all of it coming from that place, and when you look at it, it's there's a woman tied to the chair, or strapped down, and you got the guy, and if people could see it, like we're talking about the brain transfer, right? But there's obviously a comedic element that overrides the sexual element to this picture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You could make comedy. I mean, look at Mel Brooks, for God's sakes. He's made comedy out of the Inquisition in the history of the world. It's, I don't know. I'm not saying that is the same as this or anything like that, but comedy is comedy. I mean, you can laugh at all kinds of things,
Well, and we could certainly, we see that the lines, it's going from his head, transferring up and transferring into the brain and trying to swap out the brain.
Yeah, that was my last thing that I just added this morning.
He's trying to get her brain. Right?
Yeah, well, you can see, that's the thing.
High quality,
Yeah, this kind of image, as you say, you look and there's a story going on, and I'm not sure what the hell the story is from the get-go. It just hits me, these things kind of pop in sort of like from the subconscious in a way, and you draw sketches of it, and then you figure it out as you go. I enjoy doing all this kind of like crazy machinery stuff, It's just fun to do, and I love that. Wally Wood's great stuff in EC Comics. I mean, the way he did machinery, a lot of artists, fantastic stuff. And I enjoy fantasy machinery, again, science fiction. And so I start to put it in there, and then you kind of like think, well, okay, what's it doing? You try to figure out some logic behind
Yes,
it. That is hardly really smartly scientifically based. It just invented cuckoo stuff that you did as a kid.
yes.
Like basically you're playing around like a kid. You know?
So does he like the way she thinks? So he wants to steal her brain for his thoughts?
That's your thought about the picture now. You know, you're analyzing it and
I'm
thinking
asking.
that. Oh, I have no thought about that.
Okay. You're not going to give it to me.
No, I still no. Well, I mean, I because whatever I would say now, I would say something different 20 minutes from now.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't matter what the hell you say about this. The main thing to me is composition. Like, you take it, you're figuring, here you've got this basic setup. You've got her, you've got the scientist behind it, or the mad scientist. You've got this brain thing over here with the brain flowing with plugs coming into it. And then you're starting to extend it and draw it. And you draw the steam jet here that releases the pressure from the machine. That's blah, 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 blah. And now, okay, what color is this light inside here? Jean and I talk about green. She loves the green. I love the green. Green. That's going to be green light. And okay, I've got this big, you know, the thing, the whatchamacallit, the Tesla coil behind. The first time I painted it a couple of weeks ago, when the hell where I started it, I painted that all yellow and orange.
Yeah.
I stared. I said, man, that pulls too much attention to the top. That intense warm color. I want to keep the yellows and oranges on her with a yellowy light on all the foreground. So I eliminated that and went to green, blue, and I added this device on her head. And I did the electrical blast because that's not in my original sketch concept. And I added that, and now that you're going to get blue light here, and you're going to get this now magenta-ish, purpley light up on the top. So it came like color composition is mainly keeping the cool colors all up in here, more or less. And then because the red, then I said I'm going to keep the reds low, and I added it's just that's the thinking process.
Yeah.
And they said, so I'm going to add red. And where the hell is? Oh, it's backlight behind all this. There's red glowing things behind it, what the hell ever it is. And so you're lighting up the red. You get this reddish yellow orange on, you know, rim light on all this stuff back here.
Yeah, like this coal furnaces are back there.
Yeah,
that's what has to ultimately run this.
Right,
stuff.
There's coal definitely, yeah. And so I mean those are the thoughts. So the issues are not only composition, namely the positioning of the objects in the picture. All the different objects have got to be placed properly, but you have to have the composition of the shapes of the objects. That's the next thing. What shape do you make all this stuff? How do rectangles and squares and circular shapes fit and provide a pleasing composition?
Yeah.
Then you got object placement, object composition. You got color composition, placement of color,
yep.
And shape composition. You know,
yep.
All those are the elements that are going through my mind as I'm staring at it. I'll paint, draw it, look at it for 20, 30 minutes, analyzing it, thinking it through. And that's what this is all about for me.
Now, but as you're going, right, do you formulate a story in your head?
Yeah, to some degree, yes. You have to, what is this here doing? That's why I ended up then I have this device, it's green light coming out of this thing. This thing over here, some sort of I had this pipe going up out of the picture like this one, and I said, no, this has got to be some sort of a plumbing fixture thing. So you got to see the plumbing, and you got to see a dial here so that you can turn it on and off, and there's another dial back here so that it's some sort of a plumbing is involved with this. So
okay.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's interesting.
You're thinking about electricity. So there's plumbing and there's electricity. And fire, your heat, so whatever, like coal or whatever is created.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Your brain is in all those zones and you're analyzing all that shit as you're doing the picture.
See, that's okay. So now, if I was to do something like this, right, the way my brain would process it, like I would have his backstory and her backstory,
yeah,
and what everything.
Well, you're great at that because you took a bunch of my paintings of these pinups, these mad scientists, and you did create a whole story.
Yes, yes,
yes.
And even the thing that you and I were, working on.
Yeah.
You see in the sketches, I have all the notes of the psychology.
Exactly.
That didn't play into the,
No,
no one other than like you or Gene would see all that, but I get into the psychology where you get into the mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
Of what is this thing?
The mechanics and the science of it. To the imagined science.
Yeah.
Of it. But I do know character types. Oh yeah, I've done a lot of that myself.
Oh yeah,
I've written a lot of characters, drawn them, backed them all up, created a whole backstory. Yeah, I've done tons of that. I really have tons of that stuff. But with this kind of thing, well, what is this guy? I like to pose for the mad scientist.
Yeah.
That what is he? He's an alchemist in the old sense. He's a scientist. He's a mad scientist, which science has always been portrayed that way. Certainly in the past, in science fiction and all that stuff, there's always the mad scientist. Like I watched The Thing from Another World the other day. It was great. Gene and I watched it, the original.
Okay.
Do you remember? Did you ever see it?
I don't think so.
It's great. It's fantastically well done. Howard Hawks directed it, and it's really boom. It's moved. The dialogue is. It's really for 1950. I saw it in the theater as a kid. It totally freaked me out. But the scientist in the film, it's 1950, so you're at the height of the whole Cold War situation.
Okay.
Now, he's not talking with an accent, a Russian accent or anything, but he's wearing a Russian hat, and he's got a pointed goatee. And he's the guy that is basically taking a stand for science and not destroying the creature that they just found in the ice. And he's defending it and that. But at the same time, he's portrayed sort of like as this angry fanatic kind of a guy. Science was he's like he's crazy and not concerned about humanity at all. Only the pure science of it. What we can find out from this. We don't. All of us can be dead. We don't count. We don't mean anything. So that kind of science. I don't see this guy to be that kind of a guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just see him. He's the old alchemist. He's trying to make gold out of base matter. He's trying to come up with shit.
Yes.
Whatever, and he's pretty much monophobic, if that's a word, tunnel visioned. And so he is concerned only about this, pretty much like an artist is. When you're doing something, you kind of like everything disappears around you, and you're basically channeled right here.
Yeah. Sorry, now I'm getting this. Here's where my story comes into play. He basically just wants to figure out what she's thinking, right? And so that all of this is now Rube Goldberg machine to get out what she's thinking, where the simplest thing would have been just to ask.
But there's no fun in that.
He can't ask.
He can't.
He's too shy.
He's too shy. He's a very shy
So
guy.
he has to build all of this just to be like, what does she want for dinner?
You said Rube Goldberg. I actually met him once at a cartoon annual meeting of the Cartoonist Society at the Society of Illustrators.
Really?
I actually got to shake Rube Goldberg's hand and say, "My God, you're Rube Goldberg! Holy shit!"
He's like a mythical figure now.
Yeah, I was. Dick Brown introduced me. Dick Brown did High and Lois and Head of the Horrible.
Yeah, all right.
And so, because Dick Brown was doing cartoons for Fulton J. Sheen for his magazine.
Very
He was drawing little angels and stuff like that, cute little angels and everything. In any event, I don't know, Rube Goldberg, just as an aside, just a little bada-boom over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, the fun of this kind of stuff, in these pinups in general, is you can read your own story into it. It's like you kind of like walk in on the middle of something. Okay, what the hell's going on here? What's behind this? What led up to this? Where's this going?
Yeah.
So you can do it yourself up here. And I like that. I like that with, to have that happen.
Yes, it's much better to have that happen than meh.
Yeah. You're right.
The indifference.
Right. No, that's not good.
But,
Are the people talking here?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see what's going on. All right. I don't know what VUR, FYI. I have no idea what that means. Wally Wood! Exclamation point.
Wally.
I believe he's trying to steal our knowledge. People chiming in on what they think. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, and sometimes
it depends on what it's made out of.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a cigar, even if it's made out of seaweed, like Captain Nemo's cigars.
Sometimes the cigar's a blunt. Interesting mix of technology, steampunk, Frankenstein.
Yeah, all that stuff is so cool.
Tuning in late, so maybe the answer was brought up, but I always thought the mad scientist was trying to transplant the personality from the brain in the jar into the woman. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a possibility, yes. But he's got something to do with it too. I mean, he's very much he's connected to this thing, you know?
Yeah.
I just did this morning. These hoses that run up and then it comes into this, and this hose from the brain goes up to here. So sort of like he's closely, I mean, he's just not a guy in the background pushing a lever. He's going further. He's got this, like, what I put this thing on his head. It's like, I don't know what it is myself exactly, except that it's got to be there because he's got to be tied in with this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's just not pushing buttons open.
Yeah.
Know?
He's involved in the risk.
Yeah.
He's just a little bit more of a willing participant.
Yeah, I mean, he could.
Well, you know what? We don't know that she's not a willing participant. I mean, she still has her shoes on.
Well, this is it.
Just doesn't. He doesn't want to knock her out of the chair because he's running volts through her head.
Right, right. The shoes, yes. Someone commented. Bob Rebeck, old friend, who worked for Gene with us for a while, commented on this. Of course, this sort of an experiment needs high-heeled shoes. I mean, it doesn't work without them.
Ceremonial.
Ceremonial. But there's also maybe some grounding issue involved in these shoes, these particular shoes that he uses, and he likes high-heeled shoes. You know, he just likes them. I mean, this guy, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you can write any story about it you want.
Yeah. It's also great, as I've been, watching you work on and off, that you personally seem to be having a blast with the thing.
Oh, I do. It's fun.
And
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and
it's like
great to see.
It's like being a kid playing around in your bedroom or in the backyard. You're just playing around,
having a good time.
Having a good time with it. I mean, it isn't all that simple. I mean, obviously, you're still agonizing through it in a way.
Yeah.
Is it how's it drawn good? All those questions you ask yourself. Oh, should I? Oh, blah, 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 blah. That's going on too.
But it's ultimately yours, and it's your story.
Yep.
And
good, bad, or indifferent.
Good, bad, or indifferent, and you don't need to ask permission to change, add.
Right. Right. Exactly. Like you do with when you're doing commissions for private commissions or for companies. It has to conform to their standards, and that's a whole different story. When you're doing it for yourself, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
You know? That's the ultimate trip. I mean, it's for an artist, right?
Right.
For anybody, I think, in doing anything, that's to do your own thing. I mean,
it's the dream.
Yeah.
And you get to do it. You get to have fun with it, and hopefully, other people want.
People like it. Yeah. Hopefully, if they don't, well.
You know what? I got to say that people like it because Gene posted a progress shot of it on Instagram, and it far and away got more, likes than I think anything else that you've ever posted.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Including Star Wars. Which that's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, it does, because this is mine. That wasn't. It's not mine. And I was glad I did it. And it's fantastic, all that stuff. But no, it's somebody else's, not mine. This is mine.
Yeah, far and away.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
good deal. All right, this Chris Coney chimes in with that the high heels are definitely grounding, safety measure, safety first, people, safety first. When you are playing with electricity, safety first.
Sorry about that. I mean, I remember as a kid, just my mind flashed back to a childhood. My brother and I, after seeing, I don't know, various science fiction movies, or not really horror films, actually, Frankenstein, and because their sci-fi hadn't started yet, we were probably 8 or 9 years old, I think. And I remember we got a reflector, like to kind of put on my head now, like, a regular aluminum reflector. And we were deciding what happened. So we found we got a extension cord, cut off length of it, bared the wires on the end. Taped them onto the reflector. Put it on. I put it on my head first. And Tim, I said, okay, plug it in. He plugged it into the wall. Jesus. Nothing happened. I don't know why it didn't happen, but nothing happened. I mean, it didn't blow a fuse. It didn't. I'm not sure why. But he plugged it in. I was disappointed. Like but isn't that crazy?
Disappointedly.
Maybe something did happen, and that's why I'm painting these damn things.
Wouldn't that be something?
I don't know.
Like you didn't fry yourself. You're lucky that Tim didn't fry you.
The stupid stuff you do as a kid. Well, we used to make our Superman costumes. Again, about that same age.
Yeah.
And get on the roof of our parents' house and jump off, hoping that we could fly.
Yeah, I used to jump off things, but with a little tiny umbrella.
Yeah, I did that too after I saw Pinocchio with Jiminy Cricket going down with the umbrella. Yeah, tried that. It fell down. It gouged into my knee at that trip, and it was just pumping blood out.
You could feel that there's wind resistance, but not nearly enough to slow you down.
But that playing like that is like what this is. You know, that you're in that same spirit or same mentality.
Yeah, they're just going for it.
Yeah, just having a ball.
God, I can't. I see you now at this age, you guys.
83.
Hooking it up.
In a couple of weeks, 83.
Yeah, hooking it up. Oh.
Yeah, all right. Let's see if this works now, Keith. Here, you plug it in now.
Oh, man. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Greg? Questions about pinup, questions or statements, anything at all? Please feel free to chime in. Be happy to answer.
I see one. Cole C. How do we convince our wives to let us own one of your pinups?
Well, sell it to her.
Some of them are wife approved.
Yes.
Some of the pinups, I think have been wife approved. Maybe not all, and it's up to you. It's art. It's like the old man's eyes boggled, overcome by art, and the leg lamp.
Yes.
It's like that kind of thing.
The soft glow of electric sex gleaming in the window.
Yes.
How would you? Well, it depends on your wife.
I can't get into that. You'd have to. Yeah. Perhaps talking to Jean would be. Jean, would be more. I think. I don't know. I don't know what the hell to say about that kind of thing. Truthfully. Yeah.
Well, maybe ask. That's the best way to say, hey, can I buy this painting? Or a print of this painting?
Well, look you have to tell your wife one thing is it's a painting. It's not a real person.
It's not a real person.
It's not even a photograph of a real person. It's a painting. There, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be like Pygmalion. She's not going to come to life.
Now that would be something astounding.
That would be astounding.
Yeah.
Stepping out of the... Well, that's like...
maybe that's the other part of the story. Maybe she was a painting, and he's giving the painting brains. He's not sucking out her brains.
He's
giving her brains.
Real brains.
And bringing her to life. Like the...
Dabbling in watercolors, Eddie? She's married to Roger Rabbit. Betty Boo. What a lucky goyle. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? We just watched it again last week. It's better than ever. It looks better than ever. It really does.
It's a brilliant movie.
That's incredible. Shaving a haircut. No tune can resist it. Two bits.
Better to ask forgiveness after placing the order. With a piece of art, I don't know that I would agree with asking forgiveness after the fact.
Alexandra Adams, where are the males? Well, here's one.
Yeah.
Or you mean a pinup male? I've done, oh my God, how many superheroes have I painted? They're basically naked. Because we use models, I still use models, bodybuilders. Guys are wearing a G-string, basically. And then I just paint the skin the color of the costume. So that's...
Look at Boris Vallejo. He paints men all the time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm saying I do too. So it's not,
It's just never in the chair naked. Getting electrocuted.
No. but that's a whole other thing.
You gotta have fun.
I have no problem with anybody wanting to do that, but
Not for you. You have to have fun yourself.
Yeah, right.
And
now we're getting into questionable territory.
Yeah, and for me, it's not a sexuality thing, right? Because even as you've described this, it's not about the sexuality thing. The male form, to me, is just not that appealing. Now, maybe that is a sexual thing that's in my own brain. But it just doesn't look as flowy.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have all the curves in it. There's nothing like a dame, nothing. And we just watched South Pacific the other day too. Fantastic movie, and that whole song. Yeah, that's a normal, straight guy thing. I mean,
Yeah. So even though you're not looking at this in a as a turn on capacity, ooh, I'm painting this stuff.
No,
not there. I guess everything does run back to that animal instinct of what you do find appealing.
Yeah, I suppose it does. And that's fine and dandy. As long as you don't hurt anybody, you don't hurt yourself. I mean, what the hell? It's fantastic. I mean, this kind of art has been around for centuries. Nude figures. Put in different contexts. People would say yes, but it's probably the context. I mean, look at Michelangelo. Go look at the Sistine ceiling. You tell me that some of those poses, and I won't even say, go look at the one where Eve is kneeling in front of Adam. And tell me what you think might have been going on in that picture. It's probable and possible.
Yes.
And so, shit. I mean, it's like as old as human race is.
Yeah.
What the hell? What's all that stuff going on the screen there?
We are now getting a zillion notifications from patch.com on our screen that is now blocking all of our comments. So
can you get rid of that?
Yeah, we need to turn off patch notifications.
What's blocking your comments?
All these patch, whatever that is. Whatever you
the patch.com notifications that come up on the side of the operating system.
There's Jean.
Hello.
There was a woman.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Alexandra Adams asked, no, not Alexandra. One of the guys asked, how do you sell this to your wives? How do I, what I mean? If you wanted to buy
How do you convince your wife to...
Oh, how do you convince your wife? I don't know.
See? Depends on your wife, I guess.
I don't know your wife. You could try, honey, wouldn't you rather have it hanging on the wall than me chasing it live? You could try that.
There you go.
It might work.
That's a good one.
It might head you to divorce court also, which is
yeah.
a lousy thought.
Lousy.
But honestly, I really don't know. I wish I could answer that for you. So where are you getting blocked and why?
Not anymore. No, how notifications come up on the side of your screen?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a zillion notifications came up. Like they just came through.
Yeah.
And I just got rid of them all. So we're all good.
Ha ha ha, I am the mom.
Yes, that's my mom.
It's your mom?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh
Hey,
my
Mom.
God. That's your mom.
Got a lot going on.
That's a whole other story, I guess.
Yes. So I have my mom watching me talk through it. So, hey, if my mom can watch and have no problem with it, folks, neither would your wife.
Yeah, my mother had no problem. I mean, I went to a brief stay in art school for 6 months, and I went to the life class, and I bring the life drawings home, and she would show them to her garden club. She really was pretty much loosey-goosey about it.
Again, it is all context.
It is context.
I think it's 100% context. Mm-hmm. Context and intent.
What's your objective?
Yes. Figure drawing class is figure drawing class. You have to learn the anatomy.
There's a nude, and then there's something else.
And even looking at this painting, someone find it objectionable.
Yeah, sure.
But to me, it's goofy fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we came up with the title. Theater of the absurd.
Right.
Which you look at it, it's a completely absurd scenario.
Mm-hmm. The subject, the situation, the the use now you move into the zone of just what I said, all the technical stuff, the color of light, the positioning of the objects and composition. That gets into a whole other zone that is much. It's got nothing to do with being absurd.
Nothing at all.
It's got to do with a long process of analysis and contemplation and study. You know.
Absolutely. And that when all of that stuff works together, it vanishes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what you want. That's
exactly what you want.
You want it to vanish.
You want it to vanish, and not people, boom, just respond to the overall image.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those who do, other artists, I'm sure I constantly do. I mean, we all do. And you look at imagery, and you say, "Oh my God, that's beautiful! Look at the light. Look at the color. Blah, 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 blah," you know.
Yeah.
Dark against light, the light against dark, the positioning. Oh my God, it's beautiful. I do that constantly with everything.
Yes, but I think the overwhelming majority of people do not.
No, they don't, because they're not artists.
No, and it's just when you get so heavily involved. Like again, I do a lot of stuff with television commercials, the storyboarding process.
Yeah.
When I watch commercials now, my head just automatically breaks them down to where there would be the board, there would be the board, there would be the board, there would be the board. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know why it does it. I'm not doing it to let me analyze this television commercial. It just does it.
Yeah, right, automatically.
Yeah, and I guess that's a little bit more. It's a little bit more entertaining than watching the commercial for what it is. Primarily rubbish. But yeah, all that stuff, all the years of study, all the years of practical application that go into something as, let's face it, it's a very absurd image.
It's a very absurd image.
And that's
and it's risky to do.
Yeah.
On all levels. There's a risk about it, which for me has always been part of what the draw is in terms of, painting and drawing and creating anything.
Yeah.
Is that there's a risk involved. You're never certain it's ever going to come off, or it's going to work, or anybody will like it, or you're going to, there's, you're jumping into the white space most of the time and trying to figure it out as you go. Even though you're actually relying on a baggage of information you've gathered over the years, but still you're always leaping into the new, to the white space.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've been doing pinups now for 20 years, and seeing the evolution of being able to maintain a personal interest in obviously the subject matter of the human form, that'll probably never go away.
No, I don't think so. And for me, that's an ultimate objective to try to master that. Try to master it.
Yeah.
The draw. It's one of the more difficult things to do. Is convey the human figure, and it's a long, and I'm constantly blown away by artists, and I always feel like I look at some great artist, contemporary artist too, that does fantastic figure work, and I just say, oh my God, this stuff that I'm doing, it's you feel like you're kicked in the head or punched in the gut about it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the process, I think.
Yep.
And then you pick yourself up, dust yourself up, and switch that devastation into enthusiasm, and now you're inspired by that work, as opposed to being devastated by it.
Yes. How can I push to the next level, or how can I
where can I
improve? What can I?
Yep.
Part of that, you're maintaining a freshness to your own repertoire.
Yeah. Basically.
All right, folks. Yeah. Has anybody have any other questions, comments, constructive criticisms? We'll take it all.
Theater of the absurd. Yeah. I think I've been involved in that since I was a kid, of course. I mean, without knowing what the hell that meant, as a kid. That's the most appealing stuff. The stuff that people always would put down to me, like science fiction.
Yeah.
Science fiction was always derided. Hollywood wouldn't even take it seriously, right? They would just give it $1.50 budgets to movies and not treat it till George Pell. George Pell is, I mean, I'm not saying he was the only one, but he really begins to take it on seriously, like in his films.
Now, what did he direct for everybody?
He produced. He's one of my heroes. I got to meet him eventually. He was a Hungarian puppet maker, stop motion puppet animator, and designer and creator, carver, made the puppets all carved out of wood. You know, multiple face movements. You know what I mean? And hand and body movements. And he did. I remember seeing Tubby the Tuba. People should look that one up. In the theater as a kid, blew me away. I knew it was 3-dimensional. It was a puppet, because I was into puppetry.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this little guy moving around on a screen, and he was Hungarian. When the Nazis took over, he went to England, and then he came to the States, and he started making puppet tunes here, stop motion puppet tunes. And he made the first, from what I understand, from what I've read anyway, maybe if somebody can correct me if I'm incorrect, he basically made the first film, a short puppet tune on John Henry, the steel driving man.
Okay.
That portrays the African American as a heroic figure, not the step and fetch it and mammy and servant and slave. That was only in the movies pretty much up to that point. He presents the first image of the positive view of that on screen, from what I understand, what I've read. Anyway, he goes on then to go, he did a short film with Jimmy Durante, a black and white film called Rupert, the Amazing Rupert, or something, a squirrel. That was it. Look, I remember seeing it as a little kid, thinking, how they trained that squirrel? And it was like movement and everything. Then he goes on to make his first feature science fiction movie, Destination Moon, with Chesley Bonestell, the great Chesley Bonestell, the matte painter and designer, designing all the backdrops for the moon. Is incorrect as they happen to end up being. Nonetheless, they were beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
And that sleek 1950s rocket and everything. Yeah. And When Worlds Collide, then his masterpiece, as far as I'm concerned, was The War of the Worlds.
Yep.
And the second one was The Time Machine. It was War of the Worlds was 1952, 53, and then The Time Machine was 1960. And then finally, I got to meet him in Hollywood. And I don't know why we're tripping on this, but then he became the guy that I was one of the guys, along with the Disney animators in Disney films, that I was most infatuated with. And we did actual stop motion, myself and Tim and I both did, professionally for the Jam Handy organization, and pitched our story Ursharak to George Pal. And he praised our presentation. And that was high praise for me, because I knew that he did all of his own presentations too. He was an artist. When he ever pitched a film like The Time Machine, he would do all his own sketches and everything, and then get the backing for it. And he started he was working on a script at the time and a book on the life of Hieronymus Bosch.
Okay.
Which was like,
you
talk about phantasmagorical,
yeah,
absurd to some people imagery.
Yep.
And
the Garden of Earthly Delights.
Yes, incredible. And he was working on a film, and he wanted to know if Tim and I would be involved with him on it, illustrating the book and working on paintings for the movie. And then, sadly, he passed away. So it obviously never made it off the ground. But my God, it was incredible. Get some water. Anyway, but all that sci-fi stuff was always looked at as crap to most people. And back in Detroit, in Michigan, when I used to be totally into space and space travel and all that stuff, and people would look at you like I'm talking in the 1940s and 1950s, like you were nuts.
Yeah.
You know, that you were crazy. You'll never get off the Earth. I mean, this is impossible. This is impossible. Yeah.
10 years later.
Boom. I know that's a controversial subject too. There are people who are anti-space, putting all the money into space travel, and pro-space travel, and I'm not one that says I'm not negative about it in the least. I think
I'm very pro-space travel.
Totally. I mean, just it's a whole yes. I mean,
we could have a whole.
We got a whole thing. That's a whole separate issue. Absurd. I mean, you know what I mean. It gets into the theater of the absurd also.
It does, but you have to have people that believe in that, that are fascinated by what is first appearance absurd, to make it a reality.
No, absolutely, and that's science fiction's always done that.
Yep.
Jules Verne, H.G. Wells. You know, I mean, the stuff that they would talk about becomes a reality. I mean, it's incredible.
But I think that stuff's not a prediction. It's not a prediction in the sense that, you know, they dream this stuff up, but then they inspire the imaginations of the people consuming
That's exactly
the work.
Exactly.
And you have brains out there that are capable of saying, well, I could actually make that happen.
Yep.
You know, so you have to have the dreamers first.
Imagination is more important than knowledge, Mr. Einstein said.
Yeah.
So the imagination precedes knowledge.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to have that, and then out of that comes reality.
Yeah, and I mean, the things that he was pushing Einstein talking about, with relativity, time travel, and all that stuff that still hasn't come to fruition, but they're now starting to be able to piece it all together to where at one point it might
absolutely
become feasible.
I mean, of course, people say, oh, that's impossible, it's crazy. Well, if you were a medieval person, all of a sudden you were plopped into the middle of our world right now, what would you think?
Yeah.
You know, what is this?
Think about it. The simplest thing is like a cigarette lighter.
Yep. Well, look at that light bulb up there. Look at the click, click, click. I can turn it. Holy shit.
Magic.
Yeah, it is.
Magic.
Alchemy. It's all, look, it still blows my mind that we have what we have. You know, you're kind of like inventing it here with this kind of craziness, but in the reality of what humans have come up with, down to whatever, this Kleenex box, and where did it come from? It didn't land from outer space. It didn't. Martians didn't bring it. It comes out of the ground. There's this bunch of rocks and there's earth and there's vegetation and all this world that we've created. All these things we have, all comes out of that ground.
Yep.
I mean, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like just there's raw material. There's just a bunch of cave people walking around. There's rocks and there's gradually you start to figure it's like amazing. That blows my mind.
Well, the fact that you can, you manufacture something all from raw materials to then allow it to lift off the planet.
My God, it's like the whole that grasping that evolution. You know what I'm saying? As a thread.
Yeah.
That it's mind-boggling.
It is.
Is there any more?
I don't.
Greg looks like a mad scientist in his flower lab going next to his six.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are mad scientists, artists. I mean, we're alchemists. I mean, you're involved with taking base material. I don't mean base meaning that it's less than anything. Yep. But it's the alchemist was trying to transform base material into gold.
Yes. Take
a rock and turn it into gold. Well, you're taking base material and manipulating it around to come up with a picture, an image. Yeah. So you're kind of an alchemist.
Yeah. Paint manufacturers are making the plastics. And, you think about it, like this is all. You're an illusionist more than an alchemist.
Great animated film. Great The Illusionist.
That's right. Yeah, you mentioned.
There's another live action for it, but look, the animated film, The Illusionist stuff is beautiful.
I have to check it out.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's no dimension to this. You can run your hand up and down it.
Yeah, it's just flat. It's a flat surface. So you're creating the illusion of depth.
Yeah. And creating the illusion of light.
Mm-hmm.
But putting this color next to this color next to this.
That value next to that value.
And then moving it over here and putting it in this shape.
Along this edge here to form this shape.
Then all of a sudden, everyone that's watched this, and there's no question about it, that's a person.
Right. Right, that's a person. Nope.
There's like the people. We talked about people may get upset on like the fact that this flat thing that you just put acrylic colored plastic in that space and in that space. Where people go, you need to put a sensor bar.
Yeah, exactly. I was joking that I should put a sensor bar across the mad scientist's eyes.
His little
The
fingers, his little hands.
Little hands, and then he said, "Yeah, only you can take these off," but he's not seeing anything.
That is the theater of the absurd.
Yeah.
That a painting
Can say that's a real person.
Wait, you put a quasi-pink color in a circle and wanted to show it?
You wanted to show that?
How dare you?
Is that crazy? Why are nipples so verboten?
Because they're fun.
What is it? Can somebody answer that to me? Why is a nipple, which is basically, when you analyze it, on humans or animals, a source of life? Without it, you don't have life.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand that. I mean, I don't grasp it. It's irrational. It's what's it got to do with?
No, and it doesn't exist in all cultures.
No, I know that. It's the puritanical thing of this country that the invaders brought with them.
Yes, but that puritanical nature is also then what adds its appeal.
Right. It's the yin of the yang or the yang of the yin. Or what the hell is it? Something like that.
Yeah, because if there wasn't that,
well, yes,
hands-off kind of approach,
the unity of opposites, like
yes.
in the what the hell? Why is it escaping me? That the great logo of the Asia, the Confucius logo of the yin and the yang, the two, the yin and the yang,
Yeah.
the yin and yang. What am I talking about? I just said it. For Christ's sake. But there, it's the unity of opposites.
Yes.
And you don't have up without down. You don't have good without evil, and vice versa. You don't have hot without cold or cold without hot. You need all of that to have this reality that we inhabit.
Yeah.
Right. It's all got to be there. So, and besides, if without that, you don't have drama. You don't have art in a sense.
Yeah.
Right. You certainly don't have stories. You don't have epics. You don't have film. I mean, you need the good and the bad and the ugly.
No, but I don't think that you need it for life to exist. You need it for entertainment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, you need hot and cold, don't you?
Yeah.
Hot and cold is a necessity.
Yeah. But good and evil.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that moves into the moral realm. Yeah.
Yeah, like.
Well, I'm saying, no, you don't need that. No, but you do all the other stuff we don't need. It's here. The hot and the cold is here.
Yes.
So that's just the reality that we inhabit. Once you move into the good and evil, that moves into philosophy and religion, doesn't it? Or more religion than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think people in general have kind of settled on certain moral foundations that most probably have some relation to a religion, or maybe the religion was built around that moral thing.
Well, the Ten Commandments,
in
a nutshell.
But
right?
I think that at some point someone said, you know what, it's not a good idea for us to just willy-nilly kill each other, because we'll eventually wipe ourselves out. So how are we going to stop people from killing one another? Okay, well, let's make a rule. Okay, we got a rule. Don't kill each other.
We'll back it up by God gave this rule to us.
Yeah, because you have the people that always question, well, why do you get to say it? And then why do I have to follow it? Well, because the volcano over there will blow up if we don't follow it.
Exactly. Which is this part of the theater of the absurd?
It most
sort of like it is, I think. Some people might disagree with that, but I mean...
Oh, that's a good question.
Has Greg ever censored his work, or does he simply not budge on principle?
I think my principles are pretty high, I think. I don't think I have...
Have you... Okay, well, I'm going to ask you the same question in a slightly different way. While you're painting, have you ever went, ooh, that's a little too much?
Oh, yeah, with something like this, I question not that it's too much, but what will people respond to it like? What potentially might they think? Might they be offended or get angry or think that I'm demented or something. You know, yeah, those thoughts enter my mind.
Yeah.
I don't look at what's the ultimate objective is to make people laugh with these things. That's my ultimate objective. It's not my ultimate objective is not to have them go do something wrong or bad.
Yeah.
In the least, I have no idea. My God, if I ever thought that my art would ever lead to people doing something that disastrous or horrible, I don't know what the hell I would do. I'd freak out. You know, I would be really, if that became the reason why somebody would do something, I don't know what the hell I would do.
Like if someone, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Let me go try that and see if I could do that.
I think I could build that.
Well, they have to work and build a machine. And then let's see if they can make it work.
Yeah. Please God, no.
Obviously, there are standards that you have when you're doing a job for somebody.
Yep.
There's limitations and guidelines that they allow, whatever. If you're doing it for Disney or Marvel or who the hell ever, if it's a private commission, that person is requesting you to do this and this and this. And a couple of times with private commissions, at least one that sticks in my memory, about a man wanted me to paint a picture thus and thus about his wife. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get into the description of it, but no, I won't do that. No, you know, it's like it's not what I'm about. You know?
You with your pinup work. I mean, it's obviously all beautiful women, but you've never gone into the realm of overly graphic, even with a full nude.
No, you know, there's a certain level that I choose to go to,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying necessarily that another artist choosing to go in another direction or further or whatever the word is wrong or bad or anything. You know what I mean? I'm making no moral assessment of that. I choose to go to a certain point with this kind of imagery.
Yeah.
You know, I go to that point, and whether that's because of my upbringing, whether that's because of my history, whether that's because of, you know, there's a whole bunch of factors that go into making that like that, you know. If I was born, you know, 20 years later, 30 years later, 40 years, I probably wouldn't. I'd have a different mindset about it all. You know what I'm saying? So I think maybe not. I don't know.
You know,
so it's a level. It's a you know, there's a line you move up to, and then that's that. You know.
But with all of that being said, in the complete context of censorship, is obviously got white bars, where
because nipples are what?
Fun.
We can't have fun. I mean,
but you got to play by the rules of where you are.
Yeah. I mean, this thing's going to go on the internet and will be shut down or something. If they did that, people have complained about. Yeah, people have complained. Yes, not to me personally, but apparently to the whoever, Facebook or what the hell ever.
Yeah.
And then they turn the site down and make it, they keep it closed down for a week. They punish you by, you know.
Yeah.
And yet there's other stuff that's far more explicit than anything that I've ever done. That makes it through somehow.
Yeah, the hypocrisy is odd.
Yeah, and not only that, but the political shit, rhetoric, hate, and all that stuff that flies. I mean, what are you talking about, man? I don't preach hate with any of this stuff.
No.
There's no me.
No, but at the same time with this stuff, I can't imagine that you, like, if there was a 6-year-old running around, that you would let them just come.
No.
You know.
You're right.
You know,
No, I
so
wouldn't.
you play by the rules where you're at.
Absolutely.
You know.
You do. You absolutely do.
You know, so whether it's, even if you're not censoring the art beyond where you want to go, you play by the rules.
You play by the rules
to do business.
Exactly it.
You know, I like McGreed's. This is not a pipe for reasons along those lines about alchemy you guys are talking about. That's right.
What's up?
Sorry,
I like painting.
Yes.
Rene Magritte, my favorite surrealist painter. No two ways about it.
Yeah.
He had a humor.
Yes.
That's why I love this stuff. You know, for many reasons. Beyond that, your brain went to another space, and you know, you talk about pulling you into an image that creates stories. What the hell's going on? But there was a humor to a lot of it too that I liked. You know, Like that. This is not a pipe. There's a humor to that when you are. What's he saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think in an art historical context, people would, well, he's being stupid.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people give artists way too much credit, you know, of this high-minded thought process
Yeah, I know.
behind the work.
Yeah.
They're serious.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was always the thing that cracked me up when you in the 50s with the abstract expressionists in New York, and every time you'd see photos of these guys sitting in their big giant studios, you know, their lofts downtown in Soho, they'd always be, and they're always black and white, and they'd always be sitting like this, you know, and it would be this fluorescent overhead light that would, you know, that depressing fluorescent light coming down, and they'd be sitting staring at the camera. Nobody ever was smiling, laughing, happy. Well, look at what they led to. I mean, who the fuck was it that, excuse my English, that was painting the big squares of color, big here a color, there a color. And gradually those paintings kept getting darker and darker till single colors. Finally, the final painting was he decreed, and most of these guys in the city decreed, that the perfect painting was a black square. And then this particular artist committed suicide. I always visualize that, and I'm not sure if it happened that way, but that black square painting would have red blasted across it. That would make it, but I don't think that happened that way. But nonetheless,
here's
talk about the theater of the absurd.
Here's how it would happen. My God, you've done it! I could get no higher.
Oh!
You ruined it.
No, can you imagine there was a whole period in art that everybody lauded and applauded and screamed and went nuts over it. I think they still are to some degree. That the perfect painting was a black square. Look at the negative nihilism, the subject matter they decreed was for the ignorant. That was subject matter became something that was only for the ignorant. You had to talk down to people. Those stupid people demanded subject matter. But us, high intellects,
yes,
we don't need that anymore.
We don't need that.
And the human figure became anathema to interpret.
It's because it's really hard to do.
That's because they couldn't do it. That's why.
It's really hard to do.
It's extremely difficult to do. Anyway, but that's a whole other side. Talk about the theater of the absurd. That whole period then, to me, was you couldn't get more absurd in art, you know?
No.
Maybe it could, but I'm saying
me, it the initial guys that were doing it to escape from the rigors of the academies.
I got the whole history. I'm totally with it.
Yep.
Totally and again, I am not opposed to abstract art in terms of the texturing and we had a friend, Mike, Brian. His stuff is beautiful. I would go nuts over areas. He would do these texture drips and take out in the rain, and he would do all kinds of stuff. But it wasn't a black painting. It was thought out, carefully worked at, thought through, magnificent in terms of its juxtaposition of shapes that would happen naturally. It flipped me out. So I'm not knocking anything like that or creative to create other than a black painting being like the ultimate painting to do.
Yeah. However, if I had stumbled on it first and I could convince people of it to pay a lot of money for it, you and I could be laughing about it just the same while they have it, all believing what I've sold them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's my wife, you know, we're talking theater of the absurd. My wife calls it just the art of bullshit.
Well, that's what it is.
You can sell anybody anything.
It's snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that shit. A lot of it is shit. Is that a lot of it? It's not. A lot of it's just pure. It's the ineptitude making. There used to be a show, early television, of Racket Squad. It would Reed Hadley, Captain Braddock, Racket Squad, and at the end they show you a racket. You know what I mean? A con job. And at the end of it, you'd cut to Reed Hadley as Captain Braddock. Remember, there's always somebody willing to slap you on the hand, back on one hand, and pick your pocket with the other. That's kind of like what that's about.
Yeah.
Racket squad. Well, again, people would say you're pulling a racket off here too. You know what I mean? What the hell is this? Why is this? Why are you knocking that, the theater of the absurd of the black square painting, and saying that subject matter is better? I don't know if it's better, but it takes more craftsmanship to do that. That's all I'm talking about. Is craftsmanship, knowing perspective and anatomy and color and design and composition.
Yep.
All the craft, you know.
Yes.
All
of the technical capabilities.
Yeah, I think there's a value to that. I think, right? I mean, without it, what the hell are we?
Yeah. They both things. Now, we'll take the black square out of the equation.
Oh, wait a minute. Here's the black square.
He says, a black square? For God's sake. Well, to some surrealists these days, it's a blank white canvas.
Same thing.
Yeah. So taking that out, and we'll just talk about the world of abstraction.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Abstraction is critical. The abstract, just kind of jump in.
Please.
This is all about abstract design.
Absolutely.
The placement of values and colors. If you were to abstract this thing down, just to the placement of color and value, your abstract pattern has to work also, or else you have a failed painting.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
So that abstraction is very much part of so-called realism.
Yep.
You know?
I mean, even 2D painting by its very nature is abstract in a way. Not just the design, but the fact that it's flat.
It's on a flat surface.
It's flat.
It's on a thin piece of canvas.
Yeah. But both have their place in the world.
Well, totally.
Both can coexist.
Absolutely.
Again, it's you and I have been talking about this now for the last year. I've been doing it. It always pops up of it has to be this or that.
Yeah.
We get into these binary conversations of
right.
If I like this, I can't like that.
Right. If I like this music, I can't like that music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
both
absurd.
both have their place. Both can coexist.
Again, coming back to the quote, I don't know if it was Dashiell Hammett, some great American author, somebody out there will know, the ability to hold two opposing views in your mind simultaneously and still retain the ability to function is a sign of high intellect. I don't know if it's a sign of high intellect. Yeah, no, it's the yin and yang thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's, on one hand, we live on, and there's a lot to go around for everybody.
All kinds of stuff, and that's what makes it beautiful. And you know, there's palm trees down south, and there's oak trees over here. You know, it's the nature is so varied. The difference is diversity is everything, and that's the beauty of it all. And that holds true for art.
And then on the other hand, we are less than a speck of dust in the cosmic ocean, and yet we can argue about nipples.
Yeah, is that mad? Is that insane? No, but diversity and the thing that I was opposed to back then when I was starting to become aware of that whole abstracting versus realism or representationalism or even cartoons, representational, depending on all its forms, was that was everything, and what you like, I like, was nothing. That was the stand back then.
Yeah.
You got into the art discussions with that level.
Yeah.
That binary thing. It's like insane. That's what I was opposed to. I'm still opposed to.
Yes.
To call one thing good and one thing bad is bullshit.
Yep. Absolutely. And here we are, man. 10 after 5.
Oh, wow. We've been bullshitting for a while here.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Nope, not since North Freeze Black Square. All right, folks.
So we're going to black out the screen right now.
Yeah, and that might be the perfect podcast or live stream, is the black rectangle with nothing.
Nothing. Well, no, that's not perfect because it's not a square. It's got to be a square.
Oh, damn it.
It's rectangular. That shows too much thought. In square. It's got to be square.
Square. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it as we do every single week.
Yes, we do.
If you want to see more of Greg's art to view or purchase, go to www.spiderwebart.com. You can also catch us on Instagram at Spiderweb Arts, Facebook, Greg Hildebrandt or Spiderweb Arts, Twitter, Hildebrandt Greg. Find us on all these different places on the web. We're out there.
On the internet.
Someone, I think it was my mom, again, asked about pinup with a Harley. One does exist. I'll send you the link later.
Yes.
Can't remember the name of that one off the top of my
I
head.
think there's 2 with a Harley.
Yeah.
2. One of them is the Blue Swallow, that famous motel in New Mexico.
Yeah, and then there's the one in front of the dealership. Right?
In front of the Harley dealership here in Jersey.
Yeah. So there are 2. But anyway, thank you, folks. Stop by the website for all of your Hildebrandt goods.
Adios.